Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Let me turn off I'm listening to Bill Withers.
Oh,
I know. Such a good music.
you at the Hivery?
I'm not, but I have their background.
That's so funny.
I will change. I was just about to change because it's a pretty background.
That's
There you
amazing.
go.
You can do that.
Right. Well, she just shared today. So she shared and we are allowed to use it. So we actually have different ones. Look at this one.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And there's this one too, which I like a lot.
Nice perspective.
Yeah. So I like it because my curtain is broken back there in my closet. And I don't like the messiness that shows up. It just bothers me a little bit. But it's okay. I'm keeping it here. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, considered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling today?
I think it's a good topic for us. We've talked about talking about your gratitude practice when you're just feeling kind of like there's, you hit a wall. So yeah, I mean, I'm still, personally doing my stuff to, mindfulness and other practices. But I think a lot of people, when I talk to folks, are kind of hitting that wall where it's like, without an end date or a vision of what the future looks like. It's hard to just be in the ambiguity, but I've also talked to people who have been, very focused on the gift it is to be in the present, because that's all we know.
Right.
Yeah, in terms, so I guess kind of like a lot of everything, right? But so how I guess the practice can, what to do for the practice when you're feeling like you don't want to do it, or what's the point of it? All that stuff comes up.
That's always the question, right? Because gratitude is supposed to, I'm trying to go live on our conversation here.
I think it was you and I that were the two people.
Yeah, so it's okay. We'll just upload afterwards. I'm not even gonna try to mess with that right now. Let's just have a conversation, you and me. I have some friends who have the links. They can pop in, but it's been hard for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's just important that we give this time. Today's Friday, and a lot of people are having the week off next week, right, for school. My daughter actually said, "Oh, Mom, it was a joke that our teacher made today that I will go back to your point, but my daughter said it was a joke that my teacher made today to us. Just like, you guys have a great spring break. Tell me where you were going. Oh, I guess you're just going to go to the kitchen, right? Or hang out in the living room, or maybe hang out on the backyard. So have a great spring break." And my daughter's like, "I know that it was a joke, but it just felt so sad, Mom. It was really, really sad that, we just get to stay where we are." And she's like, "And I'm happy that we are safe and no one is sick in our house, but it just feels sad that everything is the same and we can't change, and we just don't know when things are going to change."
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that is exactly your point, right? We just don't know when things are going to change. And the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty, the feelings that break, just makes what is supposed to be a practice to increase positivity and optimism somewhat of a question, right?
Yeah.
Why should I do it? Why should I be grateful? I mean, things are just not working out. More people are getting sick right now. More people are locked up at home, or more people, there's some people still going on the streets, and there's some people still hanging out. Look at all those kids hanging out around our town. We get those, those text messages from our sheriff all the time.
Right. And all the people on our Nextdoor site having a lot of discussions about it.
Yeah. So it's hard. And how about being grateful when we have sick people in the house, or when we have one of our parents sick, or when we are going through financial hardships, or when we are going through any emotional hardship, a breakup, a loss? Like how can we still practice gratitude when we are going through so much heaviness in our brains and hearts?
That's the question.
One thing to remember, though, is going back to what I talked before, is that every time that we practice gratitude, our brain releases dopamine, and dopamine makes us feel good. When we feel good and we practice it again and we do something better, then the brain keeps on releasing dopamine and endorphins and serotonin. So that's the feel good, the love hormones. And that just helps us feel a little bit better.
Right. And
so, yeah,
contagious. And so it helps people around us.
Totally contagious. It's starting with us, right? It's contagious within us, because then that cycle starts, and you want to get more of it, because the brain is in a difficult or a negative state of mind. It wants to get out of it because it knows that it doesn't do us any good. It doesn't make us happy, so it doesn't do it, and it doesn't do us any good. So the brain wants to get out of it. As soon as it gets a little release of endorphins or dopamine from just a thought of being grateful, then you will want to have some more. So if we can remember that and just keep pushing through it, even if it's just a little step, but knowing that, first of all, one word that I would say is kindness, and that is practicing kindness to self, right? When we find ourselves in that situation where we are just feeling that I can't do one more thing. I can't sit in meditation. I can't find one thing to be grateful for right now. My life is in disarray. Just be kind to yourself. It's okay to feel that way. All of our emotions are real and they are valid. We feel the way we feel because there's a reason. It's not out in a vacuum. Even if I may not see why you are feeling the way you feel is valid to you. Right. So you, more than anyone, need to be kind to yourself and accept that your feelings are valid and they are legit for you.
I think that's an important distinction, because you don't want to kind of just stuff any upset or negative emotions that isn't healthy, and it's not genuine. And so it's kind of, I think it's just kind of taking that step back and recognizing it, and having like the ability to take it, feel it, and let it go, and then move through it. Yeah.
That is exactly it. It's like, first accept and sit with your feelings. Accept that your feelings are your feelings. They are real, they are valid, they are legit. There's a reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Remember that our feelings are messages sent to us so that we can pay attention to what's going on around us. Our feelings tell us that whatever it is that is happening at the moment, right then and there, is important to us. Whether you're feeling excited and exhilarated, that's a message that whatever it is that is happening right now makes you feel good. So if you do more of that, you're going to have that feeling more often. When we feel angry, frustrated, depressed, sad, that is also a message that whatever it is that is happening around us, it's affecting us and it's important to us and it's hurting us because it's happening in the way that we don't want it to happen. And that's an important message, because if we can't change the situation, that's when we should take action to change the situation. But if we can't change the situation, then what do we do?
So that gets into kind of what our narrative is about it, but then, and also like looking at the reality of it. Like,
exactly.
If,
yeah.
What's the story we're saying about it, and if it's, you know, if it's real or not, and then also like, you know, if it is, what can we do to change it?
Exactly. And then if you can't change anything about it and you are going to go through it, so let's say, you know, you were grieving the loss of someone or what we are going through, we can't really change what's happening right now in the globe, right around us. We can control our actions, we can stay at home, we can help not spread the virus, but we can't really stop the spread altogether. We can't really stop the suffering that many are going through right now. And we can't stop the loss.
Right.
And yet that is affecting us big time, right? And very deeply. Many businesses are closed and people depend on their businesses, and that's the only way that they are making their living. How are they going to support their families? Like, that is hurting me so much to think, you know, how are these people going to support their families? There are some businesses that they can fall back into some money, and some other small businesses like gardeners and housekeepers and, you know, nannies and babysitters, like they don't have anything else to fall back to.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that has been really hurting me lately. And there's some things that I can do, and on the other hand, there's so much that I cannot do. So what do we do? Right? So when you can't really change a situation, what do? We need to take care of ourselves. We need to be kind and, like you said, accept your feelings, sit with it, let it go through, let it talk to you, listen to it, but don't let it stay for too long. Right? Because when we let emotions sit for too long, then they stew and it changes our thought patterns, our thinking patterns, and then it becomes stronger emotions that change our thought patterns, that become stronger emotions. Remember, we talked about that cycle, and that is really not a good cycle because it can take us down into depression. It can take us down into anxiety attacks. We do not want to go there. We don't need to go there. So accept and sit with the feelings, right? Listen to them, let them come through. And then what I usually do is say, thank you for telling me what is important to me. But there are some things that are also working right now. And I do have this intimate conversation with myself. And it did happen. I won't lie to you. A couple of days ago, I was crying thinking about the people who, you know, do work here around my house, like my painter. He's a one-man show. And I texted him and say, how are you doing? Are you being able to work? Do you have food? You know, I can't do much, but I could send him a check so he could buy some food for the time being, right? It made me cry. You know, before I sent that text to him, I cried because I'm like, these are people who are not counting on something like that to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And they have families and they have kids, right? So then I let myself feel what I was feeling, and I cried and I let it go through me. And then I took a deep breath and I told myself, and yet there's something around me that is working out. There's something around me that is good, and I need to be grateful for it.
Right.
So in that very moment, I took another deep breath and I said to myself, what are 3 things right now that you can be grateful for? And I would say, you know, sometimes you can't really go for, oh, I'm grateful for the beautiful sunny day outside. It just doesn't feel that genuine, or it just doesn't feel that right. But I can just look around, and at that very moment, my son was playing video game with his friend and I heard him laughing. And so I started, I'm like, hearing my son's laughter makes me feel really good. That's working. So, and then I said, I'm grateful for my son's laughter. And then as I looked out, I saw the beautiful blue skies and the moon that is right there. And I'm like, I'm so grateful for this beautiful weather that allows us to be able to go outside and go on walks and have some sun on our skin. So I was able to build up from it.
Right.
So we see like
so that it was more genuine, right?
And it was just a building up. And you know what? It's okay to feel, to have strong negative feelings and still find something to be grateful for. It's totally okay to have both. Mm-hmm. Another way that, so from that point on, so I try to build up, like I said, I try to build up just a little bit on how I can strengthen my gratitude practice. And then after I find the 3 things that I'm grateful for, I find a way to give, and to give generously. It doesn't need to be financially, it doesn't have to be money. So I try to send a very nice thought or text message to someone. I'm very specific, and I'm usually emotional when I do that, and I say, you are such a good friend. I love you so much. I love having you in my life because, and then I will add what that person adds to my life. So those little, very small actions are now helping with my brain releasing dopamine.
Right.
So, and just thinking about those actions, it just makes me feel good as I'm here right now.
And your brain is then getting more used to being in that state.
Yeah. So for you, for instance, you mentioned in the beginning of our call that, it's been hard for you, and, you're getting to a point where it's been really sad. It's hard. You were maintaining a practice, but sometimes it's hard. Mm-hmm. So how can you right now build up just a little bit?
Yeah. I was thinking about like the things to do when, that sets in. And personally, I think one thing that's really helpful is changing scenery. I mean, obviously you're not supposed to go anywhere, but we can, taking like a walk around the block, or, going to a different, in your backyard, if it's raining, sitting under an umbrella, it changes your energy. And it also, so you're basically making enough of a shift that you can, you change the energy of yourself and that around you, so that you can kind of get a different perspective. And usually, then you might see something outside or hear something, or, it's, I think, when it's, if you cannot get out of it, I think just taking yourself and putting yourself in a new place it can be a good first step.
It is so incredibly powerful from a science perspective, and if you can even move from one room to another, seriously, just changing your perspective, and just looking at a different scenery, if you may, it really helps change perspective, because in that moment now your brain has to shift its focus.
Oh, that's so interesting. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm sitting here, right, I'm all day, and this is the position that I sit, there's a window, a door right here. It's a glass door, and I can see outside. But even with a beautiful day, if I am working or doing something or feeling really down, and I'm sitting here all day, I'm mulling over my feelings and looking outside at the same scenery. Right. So the more I look at the scenery, the more my emotions will enhance.
Right, because you're in that cycle, nothing's caused it to shift, where you have to focus on something else.
Exactly. As soon as I shift, I'm like, oh my God, look, Ava was 5 years old in those photos. Look how cute she is. So immediately my brain will change focus. And that change of focus really helps calm down the emotional system, allowing us to now look at the situation from a fresh perspective, which also helps us now, take a step towards our gratitude practice, or if you need to make a decision, now you have a little bit of a fresher mind to take a decision, so to make the decision. So you were totally right. Changing your environment, even if it's just a 180-degree turn, it has a very, very strong impact.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And then also, I think like changing your physiology as much as you can in terms of like, doing those breathing exercises, even though you may not feel like it, the visualizations and breathing, because the breathing actually does, cause a physiological shift.
That's true. We talked about that last week, where you're saying, when you were breathing, the energy is coming through and flowing through the chakras, and just like highlighting and maybe opening up the channels.
Yeah. And it's kind of grounds you into the moment, where all these things that can get us out of the spin, the thoughts, spinning thoughts. So yeah.
Just that feeling of being grounded and feeling supported, right? It changes our perspective too.
Yeah.
Like every time that I hear the term grounded, the image that comes to my mind is really like the earth itself, like just really holding me there. There's nowhere else for me to go down from there, right? Because that's it. So I feel supported and I feel grounded. And I do love the image that you brought to us last time, that we were talking about this breathing, and it's this energy that comes down, and as it gets down to the last chakra, the grounding chakra, it really helps us get grounded. And I've noticed that in my breathing practice that I almost feel like heavier towards the ground. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that happens when we do this with kids. They actually we have them practice like lifting each other up. And when they're doing before the grounding exercise, they're easier to lift than after. So yeah, it's definitely, and I think also a visualization that can be helpful is imagining almost like tree roots, so that you're going almost into the earth. So for that kind of anchoring feeling, or when I'm at the beach, I always kind of walk in the wet sand and feel my feet, sinking in. It's that same kind of feeling of like really being in, like you said, in the earth. It feels, because there's a frequency to the earth, and it's very kind of balancing for us, the Schumann frequency. So yeah. And then the other thing I was thinking, I'm sure you probably have thoughts about this, is the importance of laughter, and of like what it does to us in terms of when we're just feeling in a funk, of if you can watch something funny, or just to kind of make that shift. There must be some something scientific, obviously, that explains why that is really affects us in such a profound changing way.
There is. Every time that we laugh, like we are moving all of these muscles on the face, right? And as you're moving the muscles on the face, the brain starts like showering and like flooding our system with those dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Even when, so there's one tip that I give to my clients: even if you don't want to laugh, if you just smile, if you smile for long enough, you will start feeling the change in your brain. But right now, laughter is so important. And I'm going to tell you, I'm finding myself going online and searching for funny videos.
Your kids don't show them to you?
Oh, my kids do show them to me a lot, but sometimes I just need that little boost. And you are so right. Like laughter is so important right now. I'm finding that, the very few times that I talk to my friends now, we used to hike together almost every day, very early in the morning, drop the kids off in school, go for a hike, go on with our days. Now we don't. Every time that we talk, Like any little silly things turn into this ginormous laughter because we are in so much need of it.
Yeah. So true.
So yeah, it's so important. So yeah, whenever you can laugh, laughter is really, really good. Even if it turns into a cry afterwards and then it's going to turn into a laughter. I actually had a client who did that last week. She started laughing and crying and laughed again. It's just how we are going through, again, accepting our emotions, but just helping balance it out, right? So laughter is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I had I as a therapist a long time ago, and I remember at a conference they're talking about rewiring the brain. They even said like you can bite on a pencil because it makes you
Yeah.
like that, and it sends those messages. So.
It's just like if you changing the muscles on a face. Yes, just biting it. It looks like we're smiling, right? And as soon as the muscles change that way, the brain starts releasing dopamine. It's going to be the first thing, was the feel-good hormone. And then it goes with the oxytocin and endorphins and serotonin, like the love hormone. It's really important just making that the facial expression changes everything. And I would add, listen to music.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Such a good mood boost, right? Put on a song that makes you feel good. So every time that I play Justin Timberlake, I got this feeling. I cannot not dance.
Yeah.
So, it might take me a little while, but after a couple of listenings to it, then it does change our mood. Like whatever it is that we can do to just give that one step out of the hole that we feel that we are in without ignoring it. Right. What you said in the beginning, acknowledging and making sure that we understand that we are going through what we're going through, and that's fine. We shouldn't ignore that, but just like getting out of that just a little bit.
Right.
So we don't get sucked in, because if we get sucked in, it's almost like a vortex. It will recycle in and of itself, and it just becomes like a snowball.
Yeah. And just taking the responsibility to for yourself and for everyone around you right now to to make that shift. Whether it's finding the quiet, or there's a lot of online dance parties right now.
Yes.
It's super cute. You can do an exercise class. You can dance with other people in there on Zoom. So yeah, just like it's, and being okay with I think a lot of in our culture sometimes it's like there's it's frowned upon to do things that are self-care. Really self-care for take care of yourself, put on your your oxygen mask first so you can be there for other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And be okay with feeling the way we are feeling, because it's also frowned upon if we are feeling sad or depressed. Like, you shouldn't feel this way, suck it up, shake it off. And it's not like that. We are going through something that is unprecedented right now, and it's really hurtful and it's scary. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to learn from it, but we need to take care of ourselves as we are in the midst of it. These conversations have been great, because it really has been, it brings a smile to my face. It makes me laugh every time, and it makes me just a better human being. Like now, every time I'm going to make a point and stop every day, because I have a little patch of grass out there, and I'm going to do my breathing at least once a day, barefoot on the grass, because I really want to feel those roots going down.
Nice.
Yeah. I will start, excuse me, I'm doing a gratitude week project. It's a 7-day free experience starting next week. Nice. For everyone who signs up, receives in their inbox every day a breathing suggestion, right? Breathing prompt, a journaling prompt, and an inspirational quote. I'm getting a little bit confused because I'm also doing the big project that I'm doing with a bunch of other stuff in. But if you sign up for the Gratitude Week Project, which is a free experience, every day for 7 days, there's going to be one breathing technique shared with you guys, one journaling prompt to strengthen our gratitude practice, and a inspirational quote that can be recited as a mantra or just help us guide us through the day. And my hope is that by practicing the gratitude for 7 days, some of us will become even more ingrained and more embracing of a stronger gratitude practice to help us through these moments right now.
Great to do it with other people. I love that.
It's so great to do it with other people. I will share the link, and it's totally free. And I do that every quarter, by the way. And it's such a great experience. People love it, and it just brings people together. And we just, I come live, and then I talk a little bit about the prompt and why that's important. Of course, I always bring the science behind it, but it's just to know that you are not in this alone, right? We are in this together, and it just makes us feel good when we are doing it together. It just makes us feel stronger.
Yeah, great. I'll sign up.
Sign up.
Sign up. Thank you so much.
We'll talk again Monday.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.